Hello everyone, this is Steve Smith with ApplicantPro again for another edition of Inside MFG. Today we're going to talk about an extremely hot topic, and that is search engine optimization. Okay, if you watch some of the previous videos with Inside MFG, when I introduced search engine optimization, one of the things that I explained in that video is that search engine optimization is at the core of most job boards today. So for example, if you look at Indeed, Indeed is very similar to Google, right? An applicant goes to Indeed, they conduct a search, and then they find your job, and then they can have the option to apply. Well, the challenge is oftentimes organizations today, as we mentioned earlier, they only use their job description as their job ads, which are not search engine friendly. So what we're going to cover on this video today is what are some elements of search engine optimization that are going to enhance my job ad so that I'm more searchable? Because being more searchable is so important. Now, there's a common fallacy in the recruiting world that I can just go and refresh my job. It stems from the old days of Craigslist, where when you would post on Craigslist, you would post it, you'd be right at the top, and then after a few days, you'd be at the bottom, so you would just go in and post it again or refresh it, and by refreshing it, you'd pop back up to the top again. Well, the reality is search engines don't function that way. And in fact, you'll notice there's no order to the dates. If you do a search on Indeed today, you won't see any order to the actual dates because that doesn't really exist per se. There's not a way to refresh by simply updating something and hitting refresh on the screen, right? It just doesn't work that way. The way you get yourself to the top of a search engine like Indeed or ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, etc., is to have appropriate keyword usage throughout the body of your ad. So that's the first element of job optimization, is your job title. Now, there's a new rule on a lot of the major job boards that your job title should be very simple. It shouldn't be more than 6 words. And the real definition is it should be what would display on a business card. So for example, if in your job title you say bonus or immediate opening or shift 1 or 2 or 3, things like that, those types of things can not only get you deranked in the algorithm, but it can also get you blocked in some cases. And so that's important to understand, that your job title should be simple, but more importantly, they should be something that an applicant is actually looking for. So how do you do keyword research? Because what we call a position internally may not always be what an applicant is actually looking for. So you can actually do some research on some of the major boards like Google. You could also go to Indeed. One of the cool parts about Indeed is when you conduct a job search, if you actually start typing in your keyword in the search bar, you know what happens? It will show you the top 10 searches because it's using smart technology or AI technology to say, hey, applicants have searched for this word before, and here's the top 10 words that they selected or typed in. Is this what you're looking for? And so one of the cool parts about approaching it in this way is it can reveal some additional keywords to you that you may not have thought of otherwise. Plus, if you're typing in a keyword or your job title and it's not displaying in a list at all, chances are applicants aren't even looking for that. And so you have to rethink the way you post your actual job. As an example, when I was a recruiter, my title was Senior Career Development Advisor. But the problem is if I went to a search engine like Indeed and searched Career Development Advisor, I wouldn't find any recruiting positions at all. I would only find positions that were like at a college or university as an advisor to help students with their career paths, which is not what I was doing, right? And so applicants learn very quickly on these search engines that when they're conducting searches, to only do searches that pertain to what they're actually looking for. I can't emphasize this enough. Your keyword and your job title is critical to search engine optimization practices. Once you've identified an appropriate keyword or multiple words, just because it's not in your title doesn't mean it's not a keyword you can't still promote, right? So for example, I have bank clients that they prefer to use customer service as for their bank tellers, but they'll still have the word bank teller in the body of the ad. So the rule is 1 to 2%. If my ad is 500 words, 1% of 500 is 5, 2% is 10, which means if my keyword is customer service or customer support, then that keyword needs to appear in the actual body of my ad 1 to 2% of the time, or in this case, 5 to 10 times. Because what that tells the search engine algorithm is that this keyword is important. And because this keyword is important, if somebody is doing a search for this particular word, we want to make sure that this position actually appears in those search results. So if you want to increase that visibility, you want to make sure you're using appropriate keywords that enhance what applicants are looking for to begin with. Now, the final thing is the content. We actually, in our previous video, we talked about how content is king. Did you know that some of the search engines now, their algorithm is designed to look at your content and determine whether or not it's appropriate? And guess what? If you use a job description as your job ad, that will actually get you deranked, because a job description oftentimes just has a bunch of bullet points and that's it. And so the algorithm is designed to kind of catch that and say, oh, it's just a bunch of bullet points. It must be a job description. Therefore, the content is not quality content. It's just a job description. So that's why in the previous video, when we talked about, inserting the schedule and the pay and the benefits and what it's like to work for your organization and all of these things, that's why that content is so important. Because not only are you answering the questions that an applicant's going to have when they're conducting their job search, but at the same time, you are going to have quality content that the algorithm is going to see and say, hey, this is appropriate, it's good, solid content, so we're going to rank it better as applicants are conducting their search. So those are the first two elements of job optimization practices that are such a critical component when you're actually writing and developing a job ad to be posted out there for applicants to find.